John, good to see you. Today we are talking about a conversion as a gift to your beneficiaries. When considering which assets to leave your beneficiaries, there is one that is loaded with taxes, IRAs. Inheriting an IRA is very different from inheriting a Roth IRA. Can you explain the difference between taking distributions between a traditional versus a Roth?
Yeah, and let's not just stop with traditional IRAs. We could go 401ks,
Right.
457Bs, any tax deferred, or let's be more truthful, tax postponed vehicle. So these vehicles, you made an agreement, whether you knew it or not, with the IRS to be partners. And you're saying, listen, I'm gonna postpone the tax on my income now, get that deduction, and you're gonna take it out later. And so now when you're taking out this money from your IRAs, or when your beneficiaries, be it your spouse, if you die, or your children, they have the taxes passed to them. When we talk about death taxes, most people think estate taxes, when in reality, currently, very few people have to worry about estate taxes. But the biggest taxes passed on are the death taxes of these tax postponed accounts. So whenever they get this money, they're going to have to take it out at their filing status, whether it's single, married, filing jointly for the widow tax, like we say, or the beneficiaries, right? You have that very successful child that's a doctor or a high-end CEO or executive. They're already in a high tax bracket. Now you just added to it because those taxes that were postponed at your tax rates are now passed to them at their tax rates. Whereas the Roth IRA, right? Enter the Roth IRA. When they take that money out, you already bought out the IRS. So again, we talk about this as a major motivator for people is the widow tax. The surviving spouse now has some control over their Medicare premiums and their ordinary income taxes because they have access to tax-free distributions. But more importantly, your beneficiaries, your children, also have that tax-free benefit, right? Those distributions will be tax-free. So here's one thing that I'd always tell a beneficiary of a Roth IRA. If you have any other accounts that you can pull from for a distribution, and we know beneficiaries, they do remodels, they do all those things early on, pull from other accounts. Do not pull from your Roth IRA. Let that money stay there and let that money grow.
Now, to make matters more complicated, after the passage of the Secure Act, most non-spouse beneficiaries can no longer stretch those distributions over a lifetime, but they have to drain the entire balance in 10 years. That is quite the tax burden.
Yeah. So the spouses, as you said, non-spouse, the spouses still can stretch it. They can make it into their own IRA if the scenario is right. Non-spouse beneficiaries, in most cases being the children, cannot stretch it out. It used to be a powerful planning tool where a 30 or 40 or 50-year-old beneficiary could stretch the payments out over their lifetimes, which could be decades. Now that money has to be taken out. In a best case scenario, the money has to be out of the account, zero balance by year 10. So what that does now is going back to that high income earning child. Now they have to decide, hey, how am I going to take all this money out in 10 years and control my taxes? Whereas that Roth IRA, you don't have that problem. You don't have to pay the taxes on it. So again, let that money sit there, let that money grow tax-free for 10 years, then empty it out. You get the distribution tax-free, but even better, you got 10 years worth of potential market growth tax-free.
Right. Good point. I think a lot of us think the IRA is a gift to your beneficiaries, but the real gift would be converting the IRA to a Roth.
Yeah, exactly. And so many people get caught up in wanting to gift to their children.
Yeah.
I think kind of gifting is sometimes, in most cases, highly misunderstood. You want to gift something, gift the Roth conversion. And not only are you going to help yourself out with RMDs in the future, and you're buying, the IRS out at in my opinion, and in a lot of professionals' opinions, the lowest tax rates that we're going to see, but you're also giving your spouse and your beneficiaries, in most cases, your children, the gift of a tax-free distribution when you pass. And
And
to me,
that is
that's a huge
huge.
legacy.
Yes, exactly. And one nudge to consider a conversion now is the 5-year rule. Explain that, John.
Yeah, so there's a lot of nuances to this, but
Of
you
course.
have to understand this. Do a conversion of any amount now, get this account, this Roth IRA established, because there is a 5-year rule no matter how old you are. So if you're a beneficiary of a Roth IRA, you need to understand that if that Roth IRA was just established within 5 years, that you may have some tax penalties if you take that money out before the 5-year rule is applied. So, there's a lot of nuances to that. I just wanted to mention it to get it out there, that make sure that these conversions have been established for 5 years before you go taking distributions, because you're going to get a 10% tax penalty if you violate the 5-year rule.
Right, which is why it all comes back to proactive planning, right, John?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if somebody has questions about starting that conversion process or figuring out if it makes sense for them and their family, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, you can always visit our website. We have tons of resources on there, www.gosecurus.com. And while you're visiting the website, you can go to the Contact Us tab and you can schedule a 15-minute phone conversation to answer any questions, or a complimentary vision and clarity consultation. Or if you like to do it the old school way, give us a call at the office, 858-935-6210. Ask to speak with Emily Whale, and she will get you on our calendar.
Perfect. All right, John, thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin.